economic crisis in Pakistan. Last week, there were a number of disturbing news showing where people were filling LPG in plastic bags, plastic balloons. So, last week, even the government of Pakistan have introduced a number of austerity measures. The government banned the production of inefficient electric fans, electric bulbs, and it has advised a number of government employees, public servants to work from home. There were also measures to curtail the operation hours of shopping malls, wedding halls, etc. What's happening here? Very high inflation, mounting fiscal deficit, depleting foreign exchange reserves. Is Pakistan awaiting a Sri Lanka-like crisis? The issue like fiscal deficit or inflation can be dealt by the Pakistan government. There are a number of monetary measures, fiscal measures, exim policy measures with which they can deal with inflation. Even the very high fiscal deficit can be dealt with domestic borrowing, public borrowing, etc. The actual problem is the depleting foreign exchange reserves. The same happened in Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, tourism and tea export, these were the two largest sectors which are contributing immensely for the foreign exchange earning. So because of the pandemic, tourism industry suffered a lot. And the very wrong policy, agricultural policies led to a failure of tea crop. Then the number of reckless spending, and we don't know how the Sri Lankan government didn't notice at how fast their foreign exchange reserves are depleting. They reached a particular point where they were not in a position to repay their foreign debts. They had no foreign currency, foreign exchange reserves to import crude oil, petroleum, natural gas, etc. The problem in Sri Lanka was most of the thermal power stations were run by oil and gas. Once when they couldn't run their power stations, there was a short supply of electricity, continuous power cuts for days together. So they couldn't refrigerate the essential commodities like milk. And as there was a shortage of fuel, even those essential commodities or perishable commodities like fish and vegetables, milk, etc., couldn't be transported from the place of production to the suppliers. And the condition reached a very pathetic state where they were not in a position to import even the essential medicines required for healthcare. Good, a number of foreign countries stepped in to help Sri Lanka. Now, a similar situation is arising in Pakistan. Now, the Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves have depleted to such a low level. It's just having, in the second week of January 2023, the total amount of foreign exchange reserves left with Pakistan was just around 4.5 billion. With this, they can import only for the next 3 or 4 weeks. When you do not have foreign exchange reserves, then it will be difficult for a country to import any product. Gulf countries will not provide them crude oil. They cannot import commodities, they cannot import medicines because most of the international transactions happens through hard currencies. Hard currencies like dollar, pound sterling, euro, etc. Did India face any such crisis in the past? Yes, we had faced this crisis straight from the second five-year plan. In India, Reserve Bank of India is the sole custodian of foreign exchange reserves. Reserve Bank of India maintains foreign exchange reserves in the form of foreign currencies like dollar, pound sterling, euro, etc. Then also as the special drawing rights available with the International Monetary Fund and the reverse transposition with the IMF. So these are the main ways by which RBI manages or holds the foreign exchange reserves. Gold is another supplementary reserve. If you run short of foreign exchange reserve, we can use the gold for imports. In India, we have faced such a crisis. This particular crisis, right, the depletion of foreign exchange reserves. This technically we call it as the balance of payment crisis. It happened thrice in India. First, during the second five-year plan. So what happened immediately after independence? We had surplus reserves, mainly because of the sterling reserves, a sterling balance which we had, which England provided us because of our contribution in the Second World War. But during the first five-year plan, or immediately after the independence, during those times, we used to import large-scale machineries from the West, mostly from Europe and America. And most of the time, it is a transport cost which escalates the cost of imports. Heavy machineries like boilers or textile machineries or machineries meant for railways, etc. So in the second five-year plan, we faced a very big financial crisis, the depletion of foreign exchange reserves. It forced our government then to introduce the very famous import substitution strategy of industrialization as a part of the Nehru Mahalanobis model of planning. Import substitution during second five-year plan. That is, by this policy, we are going to substitute the import of large machineries through domestic production. So this led to the foundation of number of huge industries like the Heavy Engineering Corporation Limited in Ranchi, Triveni Structurals in Allahabad, Bharat Heavy Plates and Vessels Limited in Visakhapatnam, and we have also established a number of iron and steel industries, most importantly in Bhilai, Rourkela, etc. Good. We managed to cut down a huge forex. We managed to cut down huge imports. Once again, we faced the crisis in the year 1964-1965. By 1960, we were in a very comfortable position. But what happened in the year 1964 and 1965? War with Pakistan, and there was excessive spending, excessive defense spending. And once again, because of the war with Pakistan, a number of number of foreign countries decided not to provide any foreign assistance to India. USA, Canada, even Russia decided not to help India, and most of the foreign countries stopped the foreign assistance. We were forced to devaluate our currency, and even there was an attempt to introduce reforms in our economy, or not reforms exactly, liberalize our economy. There was an attempt to remove a number of protectionist measures and to make our economy open. But even after doing this, the international community didn't reciprocate, and once again we made a U-turn. But somehow we managed the crisis of 1964-65. But the worst balance of payment crisis was the one which we faced in the year 1991. We just had a foreign exchange reserves of around 750 million. We were just left with only 750 million, not billion, $750 million with which we could import only for the next 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, we had no resource to do any imports, and we were forced to go to IMF to seek help. So IMF also promised help, but under some preconditions. That is, say your economy is largely closed. You need to liberalize it. You need to introduce reforms, and one and only if you are going to introduce reforms, then we can provide some assistance to you. And it is this particular situation which forced India to introduce the very famous economic reforms, which we call it as the Rao Manmohan model of planning, which includes the very famous structural adjustment programs and stabilization program. Stabilization program is largely a crisis-driven short-term program, while structural adjustment program is a long-term program which aimed at reforming almost every single sector in our economy. But good, from 740, the $750 million, now we have reached a stage where we have more than $560 billion of foreign exchange reserves. China China has the largest foreign exchange reserves in the world. It is 5 times more than what we have. But still, India ranks fifth position in holding the foreign exchange reserves. So, at present, we are relatively safe when compared to our neighbors like Pakistan and Sri Lanka. This was largely because of the reforms which we have introduced and our very strong export potential, mostly the improvement in the service sectors. So much about the balance of payment crisis I'll be discussing in the coming lectures. Thank you.